Hey, everybody, and welcome to World Sports Daily. I'm Jim Williams along with Sean Miller, and there's nothing that makes Sean happier than
Oh,
a Manchester United win on the weekend, and they took the derby. We watched it this on NBC this weekend. Good game, fun game, and Sean, you got to be happy about how they came out with a good result in a match against their rivals.
yeah. Right now, I mean, you look and they're a point behind City for second place. They're even with Newcastle with a game in hand here. Which they play um, on Wednesday against Crystal Palace. It's one of the games they have to make up. They actually have another one against Leeds. So yeah, look, we're trending in the right direction. It comes at a good time, starting to score some goals in big spots. We have a lot of games here coming up. We're in the Carabao Cup semifinals, the FA Cup fourth round, the Europa League against Barcelona, who just beat Real Madrid yesterday. So they're trending up as well. It's interesting how Barcelona and Manchester United were kind of been intertwined here for the last decade.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's yeah. I was just gonna say that the Man U team looked good. There was some quality uh, quality games played over the weekend. There wasn't didn't seem to be any dogs in the bunch.
yeah, I mean, you looked at the games on Saturday. Brighton smoked Liverpool, which is
Hmm.
great to see. The Everton Southampton game, which that game was fantastic. Southampton, scored right before halftime and then had the free kick to win, and that's piling the pressure on Everton, and just going to kind of look here at the table real quickly. When you look at what's going on here, here's the top of the table. Arsenal just dominate. Tottenham stinks. They're in a lot of trouble at this point now. You see Tottenham and Fulham here. Manchester United in fourth with 18 matches played. Fulham has played 20 matches and they're on 31 points. So they're 7 points behind with 2 matches in hand. If United win those 2 games against Crystal Palace and Leeds, they would be 13 points clear of sixth. And they'd be 8 points clear of fifth place Tottenham. For these teams, for Tottenham, for Arsenal and Manchester City, it's about the I know Manchester City's kind of in the title race. Newcastle's kind of in the title race, but I think for both of those
No,
teams, they want to finish top 4 and then kick on next year. If they happen to be in a title race this year, if somehow Manchester United beats Palace and then goes and beats Arsenal. Remember, United's the only team that beat Arsenal in the league this year.
right.
All of a sudden now they're only 3 points back of Arsenal. Then things can happen. But to that point there, Amedeus was just talking about the glory, Man United and stuff. Looking at the title race here.
Man, you owe me a whole morning back for watching that disgrace.
That
80
was
minutes.
a great game.
8 minutes of my life I'm not getting back for that one. Oh my God, how boring that was for so long.
Well, yeah, they just lulled them into a sense of that's the problem though. When you Manchester City, to me, I mean, they're boring to watch. They had one shot on goal.
Yeah, you know what? Holland is starting to look like Salah to me out there, because he's just he gets nothing done for himself. He barely touches the ball unless somebody puts it right on his foot. Maybe he's the problem to this team that nobody's just bothered to point out yet.
He scores against a lot. He's got 21 goals in the league, but a lot of them come against like the bottom feeders, like Salah does. You said, no. There's an interesting article about that this morning that he doesn't really make his own stuff, and he drifts. He's like Harry Kane. Harry Kane is the same way. I mean, that's the problem. I mean, when you want these guys, these dynamic strikers like Wout Weghorst will probably play for United on Wednesday against Crystal Palace. 6'6" striker, target man in the box. So that's just, if you're chasing the game, or if you need a goal, if it's 1-1 in the 60th minute and you need a goal, you just spam crosses into that guy and he's just going to score goals. But it's very interesting. I was just kind of saying how United has, their Fulham is in 6th they've played 2 more games. So United would be, if they win their 2 games, they'd be 13 clear of that. They'd be 8 clear of Tottenham if they win the game in hand against Crystal Palace. And I don't think Tottenham, to me, I said this yesterday, I don't think Tottenham is a team to worry about. Conte, that team will implode under Conte. Conte will tank that team, so I'm not really worried about Tottenham. They could get hot, but I'm not worried about Fulham at this point. Brighton looked good. They beat Liverpool, but they're not a top 4 team. Brentford's not a top 4 team. So that leaves Liverpool and Chelsea. And Chelsea right now is 10 points back, and Manchester United has a game in hand, and Liverpool right now is 10 points back. So,
now Chelsea bought Mudryk, so just scooping up anything we can see, overpaying for players, so other teams can have.
See, Prem needs to seriously sort out these VAR issues. Yeah, that's right. Fulham should have had 2 penalties on the same play. They should have had the penalty. Take the penalty, then he missed. Well, then they should have got another penalty for the other one, so then he would have scored, and then they would have tied the game. So,
yeah, no, definitely, man. Newcastle plays very, very dirty. They got they do a lot of dirty tackles, a lot of sloppiness, and one of these days they're going to get a ref that's not going to just let them play.
Yeah, it's look, but here's the deal. Like, other than the only team here that scares me a little bit is Liverpool, just because of what they did, what they've done in the past. I know it's a different team, but when you look at, the futures, top 4, Liverpool's still the 5th choice there at plus 180. Like, they still, like, the books know. To me, Newcastle's there. It's minus 125. Manchester United minus 500. I'm just a little bit worried about, like, if anybody gets injured and stuff like that. They got so many games here. I just, one more player would be nice in the window. We'll see. You have to admit the Rashford goal was probably the most corrupt goal you ever come across. Look, when the PGMOL comes out and said it's a goal, that's the rules. The rules are stupid. Once again, I tweeted out that if that goal was given against me, I would, and we lost that game, I would have kicked my television in. But, like, it was given for us, so I'm celebrating it. To even bring up Newcastle when a penalty was correctly given and mess up. But there was 2 penalties in that buildup. That was the second incident. He should have given a penalty for the first incident. And then when he would have missed, then they should have went to VAR and given another penalty and a red card. We got to keep these teams
honest, huh?
Yeah, keep these teams honest, Foxy.
I gotta say, I've never seen something like what Mitrovic did. Oh my god!
Yeah, it's just unlucky.
Literally, he slipped and it went off his other foot. He was going the way the goalie was going too, and then it just bounced the other way.
Yeah, and and there's there was all the other games. You had Nottingham Forest. I just want to let me present this again. Because I think when you get down to the Forest won. Wolves beat West Ham, huge win. Brentford beat Bournemouth. I think everybody thought that was coming. Chelsea beat Palace. Tottenham, Arsenal. But these games here, when you look at the bottom of the table now, Nottingham Forest with 20 points with 19 games on pace to get to 40. And Nottingham Forest, I think Foxy, I think you'll probably agree, and Amedeus, they signed 24 players. Like, I think they have quality in their squad, I think they'll be safe. You know, all of a sudden now, you know, from 14th to 20th, separated by 2 points. Leeds, Leicester, Wolves, Bournemouth, West Ham, Everton, Southampton. You want 2 penalties given in the same event of play? Yes. If it means Fulham scores a goal, yes.
100%.
100%, yes. Leeds.
You know what? I'm just happy I cashed my under in that game because, you know, both teams they have such an inability to score goals, apparently.
You know, when you look at these bottom 7 teams, you know, if you want to put Nottingham Forest in, I guess, too, I think Crystal Palace and Nottingham Forest are a little bit, you know, Aston Villa. I think Forest is starting to play better. I think they'll be fine. You know, I kind of want to focus. You know, these 7 teams, you know, because you can get, you know, here's relegation markets. Bournemouth minus 305, Everton minus 139, Southampton's minus 118, Leicester now plus 275, Wolves plus 270. West Ham is plus 400 right now. And you look at West Ham, and they've been atrocious. I think maybe with West Ham, they think it might have to do with the fact there's probably going to be a new manager at some point. Which of these teams do you think might be in the most trouble? You know, obviously, I think Bournemouth, but, you know, outside of maybe Bournemouth, which of the teams that have been in the league, maybe Southampton, Everton, West Ham, Wolves?
Yeah, no, definitely Southampton, I think, is getting relegated for sure. See, West Ham's an interesting one to me because, like, I don't see them as a squad that's going to get relegated. But then again, they've been playing so poorly since coming back from the break, and it's only going to get worse because these were really the games they needed to win. Because in like a month or so from now, when European competition's back, they're going to be trying to win that Conference League. So they may go all the way and focus on the Conference League and win it, considering the competition in there. But they're going to end up getting themselves relegated because they're awful in the league.
I'm sorry about this. I was just going to say they're the ones I had that was gone. I mean, I just
West
didn't
Ham?
see. Yeah, Ham.
Yeah, I think I just wanted to show this West Ham schedule here. You know, they have another huge game against Everton. Everton will probably relish the fact, like Foxy said. I mean, they're going on the road here. The home atmosphere is nasty. You know, they have Everton, then they're at Newcastle, home to Chelsea, at Spurs, Nottingham Forest, Brighton, Villa, City. You know,
that's Murderer's Row.
Yeah, they don't get a lot of, and then, you know, down the stretch here, which is always important, you know, they're going to get Brentford, Leeds, and Leicester. So Leeds and Leicester the last 2 days, maybe they have something to play for, maybe they don't. But they, you know, once again, remember they could be, you know, they're going to be playing in Europa Conference League. Sorry, let me pull this back up. So yeah, I just think it's interesting. You know, they're running, but to me, you know, they could. I think they'll be all right once they fire Moyes. Moyes is going to get fired. Lampard's going to get fired. They'll have a bounce. Southampton's already fired their manager. Wolves have already fired their manager. You know, they get that little bounce. Everton, Bournemouth, and Leeds. I hope Leeds goes down. That'd be great. I think Bournemouth 100% goes. Their squad stinks. Everton's squad stinks. I think Southampton is good enough. You know, Bazunu, they're clearly playing better. But it's interesting, you know, when the teams that have made the change with the managers, you know, all of a sudden they're turning the corner.
Well, you know, though, in both basketball and the NHL, because you'll see that happen, where in season you'll get a change in coaching, and all of a sudden they will suddenly go from the worst team, you know, in the whatever division they're in, to on a winning streak, Maybe just because they have a new face in the locker room. I don't know. I remember last year, Bruce Boudreau, when Bruce went to Vancouver. He came in and they went on I think they won 12 out of 15 of their next games, and I think they didn't. I don't think they made the playoffs last year, but they sure as heck moved up in the standings and were fighting for it. And so, I mean, the theory of the case, Sean, of what you had brought up, the change of a voice in the locker room from a standpoint of sometimes coaches get tuned totally out by the players, and then just shaking it up, a new voice in there comes in and goes, "Hey boys, what's going on?" And it can make a difference.
They call it the new manager bounce,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just it's pretty interesting. I think I just wanted once again with West Ham.
Mm-hmm.
So you're gonna go. I'm gonna show you this with the. So they're not playing right now because they won their group in the what date is this? In the Europa Conference League.
Today's the 16th.
Yeah, the Europa Conference League. So they're going to have the quarterfinal. So they're going to play this brutal schedule here, and then right here, City, Southampton, Conference League at Fulham, Conference League at Arsenal, Bournemouth, Liverpool in midweek, Crystal Palace. So 3 games there. West Ham, Man United, Conference League, Brentford, Conference League. So they're I think they're in. The Conference League is going to be Palace, Conference League, United, Conference League, Brentford away. I think they're because they're going to go deep in that tournament. I mean that league.
I think we just lost Sean.
Just disappeared on us.
It's like I think there was somebody out there, the West Ham fan, that there you are. We thought a West Ham fan pulled the plug on you.
Click backwards, yeah.
I just power on your house.
Yeah, yep. They must be. Maybe the hammers are running my internet. I think I don't know. I think they're in a lot of trouble here.
Yeah, definitely down the stretch, they'll be in a lot of trouble if they're not already now. These were the games they had to win. They were coming off a rest period. You have a little bit of time before European competition starts again. You got to make the most of it. They're doing the complete opposite.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because after such a great weekend, I mean, there's literally there's Cadiz and Elche. Empoli, Sampdoria, and Mali, Angola, and Cameroon, Congo are the top 4 games on the schedule today. So,
wait a minute, Cameroon, Congo.
Congo, yeah.
Congo. That sounds like a drink.
Yeah, it's not a very appetizing schedule.
Is that the African Nations League or whatever?
African Nations Championship, is whatever it is. I don't know what it is. I still can't figure out what this tournament is because it's not the cup.
Yeah.
So,
it's not the Cup of Nations.
Yeah, maybe it's just I don't know what they're doing. Maybe they're playing the younger kids. So I don't even bother looking at that, to be honest. Tuesday, there's a couple there's 6 FA Cup games. Wolves and Liverpool is the big one, but I think there's some decent value in some of those games. Birmingham City, I like a little bit, but and then obviously Wednesday you got the Crystal Palace, Manchester United, Leeds United, Cardiff City, AC Milan, Inter Milan, Super Cup. Whoa, big game there. So there's some games this week, but obviously. The weekend was where most of the action happened, and next weekend will be where it'll happen again. And same thing for football, I think, as well, right?
Sean,
yeah. Did you see AC Milan on the weekend?
No.
Oh my God, They were playing in Lecce, and right away I was
I
all
saw it.
weekend.
I saw it.
Right?
It was tragic. Yes.
Yeah, all weekend I saw people giving out, or I guess all morning that day I saw people on Twitter giving out AC Milan at like minus 160. And I went to go look at the game, and I go, not in Lecce, Sean. You know how I feel about playing against these teams in Lecce.
Yeah. You can't.
Something's going on down there.
Well, the own goal right away kind of gave that away. So
I mean, I think they tied it 2-2, but still, they were down 2-0. Like,
I also, the Lens won and PSG lost. I mean, that French league is crazy. I mean, PSG now only has the season is halfway through, and PSG has a 3-point lead over Lens, who has still only lost one match, and Marseille all of a sudden now is only 5 points behind, and this. I'm telling, like, that PSG team, they could implode because, I don't know if you had. Did you have?
I watched it, and it looked like they were playing in pudding. I mean, they couldn't run at all, or maybe they chose not to. But I thought I had to change my TV because I thought there was a lag going on. But it was the PSG just wasn't even playing. They were just like lollygagging up and down the field, like, okay, well, we'll get there when we get there. No sense of urgency at all. And I got to say, I was disappointed.
Yeah, I just, when you look at the lineups they have in that match, still no Mbappe. He's going to go at the end of the year. I think Messi could stay. I guess maybe stay for another year. He could go to Saudi Arabia. I just
think he's going to go reunite the Ronaldo Messi rivalry.
Yeah, man. For the money they're saying, I think maybe, and then obviously.
Did you hear they're playing on Thursday?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that
the PSG versus the what is it, the Riyadh All Stars or something like that, the Saudi Arabian All Stars.
Yeah, it's like that's the thing at this point. Like PSG, Foxy's talking about that Monaco game. Yeah,
that was great. I watched that. I had Monaco minus
Lille 5-1. The League of Goals, as they call it. I think this. PSG's in danger of becoming like a circus team at this point, like a circus attraction. I will be very interested to see because, this Bayern Munich team is going to be rested. First of all, Germany was out early, and they've had about the last
2 months off.
2 months off, so they're going to be rested, and they'll just they'll be getting me back into they start ramping it up. They play Leipzig on Friday, which is, good game to come back to first third. But they could be rested going into that. Once again, PSG is still more talented than them, but if PSG gets knocked out in the round of 16, I think PSG implodes. I think they could just, because the Qataris are talking about maybe leaving there anyway. Maybe they buy. Now they're looking at Liverpool and all this stuff. So
they're kicking the tires on a few teams.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I do think that could be pretty interesting. So,
hey, there was an article in Awful Announcing, penned by a friend of mine, who basically brought this information up, and I want to throw it out to you guys on the floor. And that was that despite being the quote unquote worldwide leader in sports, ESPN's coverage of soccer from any level pales in comparison to what is being done now. Excuse me. By both Paramount Plus and NBC. So your thoughts? I guess it could only be Sean because you can't see the ESPN's coverage or Amedeus in the U.S. But they're saying that their theory of the case is A, they don't do a lot of pregame stuff, and B, um, less than 4 minutes over the course of a day on every sports center that they have is basically dedicated to anything that is soccer related.
I mean, I'll be honest. Like, I don't even watch ESPN unless it's ESPN Plus to watch the games, and I've kind of stopped watching pre-game shows as much. I do like the Champions League ones sometimes, but like a lot of times I'm scrambling around to get home from games. They're scrambling to get to something after the game's over, so I don't watch the post-game show. I also like, I mean, I'm pretty good about, I don't need to be told like what to look for. I kind of know patterns of playing, all that stuff. But sometimes they have this. They had ESPN used to have the Euros,
right?
And I guess they still do. Maybe I think it was on ESPN, and they big it up, and it's the same thing. I mean, Joe Wiz says this all the time on our ESPN show in New York. During the World Cup, and in 2 weeks of the everybody's on my betting. Hey man, we need your help for this. We need your help. Okay, so you get through, and then hey, do you guys need my help now? Well, no. Like, why would we talk about soccer now? And you're just like, what are you talking like? But this American thing, like World Cup is just like World Cup is almost exhibition to me. Like it's like, I'll watch it and it's good, but like it's an exhibition. The real teams and the players are the club teams, and they'll put it back on the shelf, and then they'll bring it out this summer for the women's, which no one's gonna watch because it's at 3 a.m. in Australia, and then they'll say, oh yeah, well the women are good, blah blah blah. But in between that, you have a Champions League, you have the Premier League, which is looking like it's going to be a crazy story because Arsenal hasn't won since 2004. So their first title in 20 years. I said the other day, I always find it good when little teams like Leicester and Arsenal can step up and maybe win the Premier League and stuff. So
it's funny. My brother is in charge of the coordinating the production of MLS this year, and he brought up something that you brought up, Sean, the other day. He goes, what league other than baseball and basketball and all those others have every game they play on this, on one night, 2 nights a week
at the same time,
all at the same time? You've got all these games going on. And he said, the staggering of it, because he also used to do the Premier League. He said the staggering of it would be a great thing. And he goes, it's not like they don't. And here's the point: it's not like they're sharing stadiums anymore. Okay, most of the teams that are in the MLS have their own building. So, what's stopping them from doing what?
It has to be a choice. Like I mean, at this point, it has to be.
So you're thinking Garber has chose that this is the way they're going to do it.
I mean, to be honest, at this point, I mean, there's no other explanation because, I mean, when you look at every other league in the world,
right?
They do it. They spread the games out. Even like Mexico, like just next door to them, they spread the games out on 6.
Mm-hmm.
They want to have a 6 and 8 and a 10 o'clock game on Saturday, a 6, 8 and a 10 o'clock game on Sunday, because they know people are going to be at the games and watching.
Right.
So, to have, 14 games on a Saturday between 7:30 and 9:30 has to be an actual choice. They want every game to start at 7:30 in their hometown. My guess would be that they've gone through and they've found maybe that's the time that they get the most fans at the game, but so maybe they're more worried about.
Okay, but the question I have for you in that is, okay, fine, 7:30's a start time, right? I know that Arizona and Tampa Bay and some of these other places, I'm talking about baseball now, we'll start a game at 6:40 because people can get out of work and, kind of bop over to there. Plus, gets the games over before 11 o'clock. Got that. But it doesn't mean they don't play on Wednesday and Tuesday and Thursday and, every other game of the day of the week. The time is fine. You want to leave it at 7:30. That's cool. I don't care. But at least mix it up. So, have a game on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You could do that.
Oh,
and then still, let's say you go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right? You can still do Saturday and Sunday.
Well, I mean, the proof in the pudding, as they say, is the fact that the Champions League games are Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, and people watch them.
Right.
Copa Libertadores, the Champions League, the Europa League. I mean, it's like all down the line. Like even the Europa League, who only plays on Thursdays,
right,
has 3 different windows on Thursdays. They have that morning window when you're playing in like Asia, even though it's Europa League. Then they have the early window, then they have the late window, and they split the games up. I mean,
Well, I had gotten an argument over Apple TV Plus versus ESPN. Why, if you're off ESPN, quote unquote, you suddenly there's not a sports fan will go looking for you. And I said, you've got to be kidding me. I mean, now in fairness, I'm not going to trash a lot of ESPN. Has over the years paid me a lot of money, so I can't beat up on them much. But that being said, how I turned to that person, I said, look, okay, you're downing Apple TV Plus as a streaming service, or Amazon for that matter. Saying that Amazon didn't get the numbers that they should have gotten in their first year of streaming in the NFL. If you look at the Amazon numbers, okay, they were, depending upon who you believe, they got between 9 and 11 million viewers on a Thursday night, okay? If you were to translate those streaming numbers into, Nielsen numbers, right? They would have won every Thursday night this year across the board on broadcast television and cable television. Now, are they down some? Yeah, well, of course they're down some because, one is a linear television, meaning ABC, CBS, NBC, CW, Fox, whatever. Those are all over-the-air broadcast stations, easy to get. Cable, same way. So they were down. But here's where you really need to start looking into the numbers. And that is 2 things. The median average age of the person who watched NFL football on Amazon was 47. The median average age of the person who watched it last year on Fox was 62. Okay? So keep that number next to you. And here's the second number. The second number is they had a 75 percentage point up in the 18 to 34 market. So this is year 1 of an 11-year deal. If I see that the audience that I want, which is trending young, and 18 to 34 is like your prime buying audience, and up ridiculously high in those 2 metrics, I didn't lose a damn thing streaming to Amazon. As a matter of fact, I gained an audience. Yeah. So if you go and look, do you know now, and this is something that isn't, it's not a surprise to us. I'm going to tell you this, folks, right off the get-go. It's not a surprise to us. 89%, this is Nielsen did a survey, 89% of sports fans who are soccer fans enjoy streaming versus cable. Theory, why? Because they know where to find it.
Yeah, I think when you look at these numbers, Fox. First of all, like some people that don't have cable have those over the air things.
Right.
So like, those numbers are always going to be bigger. But those people that have those are usually older people. I mean, the streaming stuff is, people can talk like they complain about streaming and thing, but clearly it's the future. It's not the future; it's now. I mean, it's been like this for 10 years.
Well, the thing, guys, that they brought up in the Nielsen survey, okay, was that most sports fans, and specifically soccer fans, and we'll play this out, have no trouble watching a game on their phone or tablet while they're also watching a game on their flat screen.
Yep.
So watching 2 or 3 games at a time is not something that is foreign to them.
I have 3 games on every Saturday.
I know. Let me just say, in fairness, you're the exception and not the rule.
Yeah, I mean, I'm usually focused on one.
Well, that's I mean, the other part, so everybody is clear on this.
Yeah.
The 3 of us are contractually obligated to watch sports, so we do take it a little more seriously than the average fan. But that being said, the average fan now knows where to find. I mean, I know what's on Paramount Plus. I know that if I wanted to watch the PSG game yesterday, I had to go to BN to get it. But I know where it is, and I can't tell you on any given evening where the hell a Big Ten basketball game is going to be. It could be on the Big Ten Network. It could be on ESPN. It could be on Fox. God knows where it's going to be. So I got to go searching for that one. But I know where the soccer is going to be. And while Garber has not done a lot of good, smart things in his life, the deal to go to Apple TV Plus, I think was fine. And I think the key that you and I and Amedeus are arguing with them about is, okay, now you picked a good partner. Go out and now become creative in when you stagger these games.
Yeah, like putting it on Apple means nothing if I can't watch the games because there's 20 at the same time. Like I don't have that many screens.
Right.
Here's the this was up, and I'll put it here. Here's the opening day. Now, you could say opening day. It's opening day, blah, blah, blah. They got the one game early, but every game after that is 7:30 at night in their own market. Dallas and Austin, 8:30. Obviously, Galaxy is 6:30 out there. And El Trafico, it's ridiculous. They start with Galaxy and LAFC. I don't know why they start with that so early in the season. And then, just to go through the second week and say, so there's clearly a window here for TV, an early window, 7:30, 7:30, 7:30, 7:30, 7:30, 7:30, 8:30, which is 7:30 in Chicago, 8:30, which is 7:30 in St. Louis, 8:30, which is 7:30 in Austin, 8:30, which is 7:30 in Dallas, 9:30, which is 7:30 in Colorado, and then the 2 10:30 games, which is 7:30 at their home game. So, first of all, it's cold in March, so you're playing it. You're playing at night, which why not play in a warmer time of the day? There's nothing on. There's nothing else. Like put games on. I just don't understand.
Let's go back to you guys' theory. All right. When opening day in Major League Baseball, I'll use that as a metric. Opening day in Major League Baseball will have a 1:30. They'll have a 3:30. They'll have a 4:30. They'll have a 7:30. They'll have a 10:30.
Yep.
And basically, they don't suffer from it. And if you look at what goes on in Major League Baseball, they have a lot of stagger times. Hell, on the Sunday, because Peacock has the new window, they open the first game they play is at 11 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And they play 162 games. I mean, I think the point that they're making, and how many businessmen specials do you see, right? Where there'll be a Thursday get out of town day or a Wednesday get out of town day, and they'll play a lunchtime game. They'll play a game at 12:30, 1 o'clock. And I think why would you not, if you're, MLS, try in some cities, just try it. In some cities, try doing an afternoon game during the week.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, you lose nothing, and you might just find out that, you know what, if I've got people downtown and they haven't been to a soccer game, and there's a theory of, let's go out at lunchtime and make it a long lunch and go and watch a baseball game, because a baseball game, you have no idea when it's ending. Okay, you could be there for 5 hours, but in a soccer, you could go out at noon and still be back at work by 4 o'clock.
Yeah, exactly. And Fox, you just mentioned how John Duran just signed with Aston Villa, $22 million. Second biggest deal for an MLS player. 19-year-old from Colombia, 6'1" striker. He's a big talent from Colombia. Future of the MLS, buy South American for cheap and make good profits for them. Yeah, it's interesting that some of these kids come from South America and then they come and make a name and then they go there. So, yeah, 19-year-old Villa. I know some of these other teams were looking at him. So interesting deal there for the MLS.
Let's, if you guys don't mind, let's talk for a second about what happened over the weekend in NFL football. I think the quote is no lead is safe, would be a fair way of putting it. Amedeus, you were really incredibly spot on when you said something to the effect of, I'm not sure whether you were dogging Justin Herbert or dogging the coach, but
Brandon Staley.
It's Sean's guy.
How do you blow a 27?
They ran the ball like 8 times in the second half. He's a terrible, terrible coach. I've been talking about him for 2 years. He blew the playoffs last year for them. He blew this game this year for him. He's a terrible coach. He's way over his head. He shouldn't be coaching. Mark Eckel said he's the worst coach since Rich Kotite in the league. And that's pretty bad because there's some pretty bad. There's some
pretty damn bad coaches in the league.
Yeah, look, you blew his whole rookie contract. They haven't won a playoff game. The fact that they lost that game after being up 27-0 is embarrassing.
4 interceptions in the first half,
in the first 12. Yeah, I mean, you can't. It's just inexcusable. I mean, this guy, and he's not. He still has a job. I don't understand why he's not fired. He should have been fired the second the game ended. He should have been fired.
It's funny because Matt Smith and Daniel Jeremiah are buddies of mine, and they do Chargers radio. So, like Sean, I've got Sirius XM, and so I decided I was going to flip over and listen to the Chargers broadcast. And I swear the second half, and these guys, you're thinking, all right, they're trying to pump up the crowd, right? Pump up the home side. They're basically saying, we are on a mission to lose this game. And I mean, you would have thought that you tuned into to the broadcast for the opposing team, because for Jacksonville, because they kept saying, "Oh my God, why we keep making these mistakes." Did you ever see a football game where the damn ball hits the return team's guy on the head and bounces off, and they end up scoring off of it? You're like, this is nuts. But then again, the same thing happened to Buffalo yesterday with the Dolphins.
Yeah, it was wild because the way that game started with the Jaguars, it was like everything that could possibly go wrong in a game went wrong for the Jags. And somehow they still managed to pull it out. And it all comes down to coaching, man. Everybody was so focused on, Justin Herbert versus Trevor Lawrence.
Right.
Herbert's got the extra years in the NFL. They're both making their first playoff start. But nobody wanted to focus on the fact that, Brandon Staley is a relatively new coach making his playoff debut, or even if I forget if they didn't make the playoffs last year, right?
No,
Yeah, so
No, they lost that game.
they lost the last game of the season.
Yeah, so he's making his playoff debut against a coach who won a Super Bowl 5 years ago and even had to go through losing his starter going into the playoffs and still came away with it because of Nick Foles. So that game came down to coaching. I don't know what Doug Peterson said in that locker room at halftime, but clearly it was, guys, we just got to come out and stop them. That's all.
I think it began with telling Trevor Lawrence, throw the ball to our team. I think that was it. But if you look at the second half of that game, right? Trevor Lawrence was a different person. He was possessed. He could make throws that he screwed up in the first half. Justin Herbert, on the other hand, couldn't make the throws he made in the first half. But Sean, to your point, they've got one of the best running backs in football.
Yeah.
What the hell? I mean, he didn't touch the ball hardly in the second half.
Yeah, he's a terrible coach. Every time if you ask my guy Daryl Fine, who did the we did the How to Bet show last week about
right.
Last year that guy cost him more money last year. Every time you bet against them, they would win. Every time you bet on them, they would lose. They're he's just terrible play call. I mean, go back to the game against the Cardinals this year. I mean, they if they don't make that 2-point conversion there, it ended up working out because they made the playoffs. But if he doesn't, he doesn't. They don't make the playoffs, and he gets fired before the playoffs start. He's fired. So
Well, I mean, look at the situation, and this is something that that we talked about before. Look at the situation with regard to getting rid of Cliff Kingsbury out in the desert, right? He took him to the playoffs last year. It didn't matter. I mean, what have you done for me lately? And what you've done for me lately is proof to me that you're not very smart at what you do. So,
did you see what
Doug
Cliff
Peterson did? I'm sorry?
Did you see what Cliff did?
You mean going to Tahiti?
No, Cliff. He after he was fired, he bought a one-way ticket to Thailand and is there.
Oh, yeah. That's I for some reason I thought when I was talking, I thought he went to Tahiti, but you're right. It was Thailand. He's
bought a one-way ticket. Doesn't plan on coaching next year. Has no interest.
That's okay. There aren't any teams that have interest in hiring him as a coach.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we don't want you. Stay in Thailand, and you know what? Send Kyler Murray over there with you.
Right.
Take him with you next time.
Kidnap him. Put him on put him out there and let him go. You know what though? I gotta say this. One of the people who I've always been impressed with is Kyle Shanahan, and what he's getting out of Brock Purdy is just ridiculous. I mean, that should not even become close to happening. But it is, and John, I think you said that you saw them in the conference final. Brock Purdy, week in and week out, just seems to get better and better and better, and make less and less and less mistakes.
Yeah, there's a reason certain teams are always, the 49ers are always late in the playoffs here, and they've been to a Super Bowl and a conference championship in the last 3 years, and they're probably gonna, they got a tough game next week, but they're favored. I didn't see the line.
Well, they would be favored against either Dallas or Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I haven't seen the early lines.
And they play each other. They have to, Tampa Bay or Dallas have to go out to San Francisco. Well, technically, it's not really San Francisco for those of you. For those of you who fly into to SFX and think it's an easy trip down to, take the BART to get down there. That stadium is in the middle of nowhere.
Good old Inglewood.
Well, Inglewood's in California, in Southern California.
Oh, okay.
They play. Actually, the stadium SoFi is out by the airport.
Santa Clara, isn't it?
Santa Clara is where the 49ers play. So they play in Santa Clara, and Inglewood is where the SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles is. So, for those of you geography lessons that need to be done, and you happen to be in the stadium area, that would be it. Santa Clara is where Santa Clara is about a 40-minute BART ride south.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean it's my point is it's not in the middle of San Francisco.
Yeah.
You have to get on a train and go. Not that it's tough. It's just you do have to go that way. How did I get into this far field? Jesus.
You know what? But you know what? With this 49ers team, I gotta say, I love Kyle Shanahan, and I think he's a great coach. He always finds a way to scheme his team to victory. But I don't want to chalk up Brock Purdy to, like, I'm sure it helps being in that kind of system with a coach as good as Kyle Shanahan is. But I don't want to chalk it up to, Brock Purdy's only good because of Shanahan. Because honestly, I think Brock Purdy's just a good quarterback. And if you actually look, the offense has been better with Brock Purdy in his first 6 starts with them than it was ever with Jimmy Garoppolo running the show. So, this is a team. So Brock Purdy started the last 5 games of the season and now a playoff game. The 49ers have scored over 30 points in almost every single one of those games. So
look, Amedeus, you were right. Okay, I don't argue the fact that Brock Purdy could play. What I guess I'm giving him credit for, I'm talking about him being Kyle, is that there is almost never, because I'm not going to say never, but there's almost never a quarterback picked as Mr. Irrelevant. Okay, that usually is reserved for an offensive or defensive lineman, perhaps on occasion a linebacker. Okay, but what did Kyle Shanahan see in Brock Purdy, right, that said, you know what, I'm going to waste this draft choice? He already had the kid, who's going to be his quarterback for the rest of his, natural life on the team. If you go back when Washington drafted RG3, okay, if you look in that same draft, Shanahan picked Kirk Cousins. And so people are looking at, why did you pick? You got the Heisman Trophy. You got one of the top quarterbacks in college football. What the hell? Why would you waste a draft choice on another quarterback? So fast forward in the first season that RG3 is running the offense, he gets hurt in the Baltimore game. In comes, the draft choice they shouldn't have made, and takes him to a touchdown. He wins that game against Baltimore, goes up to Philly, wins a game there, comes back, and they made the playoffs. So I guess what I'm saying is you're right. Should Brock Purdy, I guess the proper way of putting this is, should Brock Purdy have been drafted? Yes, 100%. But the difference I'm saying here is that Shanahan saw it. Well, I mean, if you don't draft him, right, you could pick up the phone the next day and call him and say, look, I'm sorry you didn't get drafted. I'm going to invite you to camp as an undrafted free agent. Because if you draft somebody, you got to pay them if they stay on the roster. You don't if it's an undrafted free agent. But I think he was afraid, Kyle was afraid, that, you know what, somebody just might pick this kid up. So it was more than a flyer on him. So I guess, no. Can Brock Purdy play? He could play for probably 6 or 8 teams in the league that fit his skill set.
And that's the thing I was trying to get at, right? Like I wasn't saying you were disagreeing with me. I was just trying to say, Shanahan's a great coach, and obviously he's a big part of why Brock Purdy's so good. But a lot of people are out there saying, Brock Purdy, he would be nothing on another team. I don't think that's
not true.
I think he, as you said, could start on a good handful of teams in the NFL right
now. Yeah, Brock Purdy is a systems quarterback. Okay, so what would have been the difference? He could have played. He sure as hell could have played. Daniel Jones is a systems quarterback. Okay,
as Dayball has shown us, get the right guys in there, and maybe it's not so bad.
Yeah, so system quarterbacks like Brock Purdy can take you a long way, and I would argue that Brock Purdy is very much like a Daniel Jones. He's like Matt Jones in New England. I mean, he's that kind of guy. He's not going to beat you, okay? But he's also at this point, and obviously he's a rookie, but he's not going to be the guy who carries you to a Super Bowl. You have to complement him with some. I mean, how could you not like a George Kittle and some of the folks that are on this offense that the 49ers have? Plus, they have a defense that turns the ball over. So you're playing on shorter fields. But to your point, Amadeus, I could easily name 5 or 6 teams without even thinking where Brock Purdy would flourish.
Yeah, and I do think you do make a good point with the weapons he has around him, because if you look, he's got one of the best players in the NFL at every key position in the offense. They got Christian McCaffrey running the ball, got George Kittle at tight end, as you mentioned, who's great at, obviously never going to drop the ball as tight end like that, and he's got the blocking ability. But then you got Deebo Samuel.
Right.
On the wideout, they run, they run the jet sweeps with him, sometimes do direct snaps. Like
right.
The amount of things that Kyle Shanahan can do with this offense, because of the pieces he has, including Purdy now, is just unbelievable. And you know what? When Garoppolo went out after I saw Purdy come into that game, ruined my bet. And then the next week beat Tom Brady in his first ever start. I knew right away. I said, you know what? This is still a Super Bowl roster with or without Garoppolo. You put Purdy in there, I think this is a Super Bowl team. And I'm with Sean. I got the 49ers beating the Eagles probably in the conference championship, and I see the Niners in the Super Bowl this year.
So, the other thing is we had the Giants upset. Though, is it an upset really? The Giants beating the Vikings.
The Vikings were a 3-point favorite, and they just played, and it went down to the wire the last time they played. So I don't even think it was that much of an upset.
The other thing that annoyed me yesterday was in that Vikings Giants game, right? You had
Statue of Liberty play, wasn't it?
No, that was just stupid. The thing that annoyed me is, okay, you're Kirk Cousins, right? You're driving him down for potentially, the touchdown that gets you that can get you that can get you tied with them. And so he's got, and you have no timeouts, and the clock is just burning right in front of you. He throws downfield. The guy literally drops it at the 20-yard line. That was on 3rd down. 4th down and 8. Okay. On a 4th down and 8, he throws a 3-yard check down, and they come up 2 yards short. And you're like, what the hell are you thinking? You don't have 2 downs anymore to do this. You have 1 down, and you throw a check out to a guy who's literally standing in front of a linebacker.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like, I don't know what they were thinking in that spot. It's one thing if it's like a meaningless season game with the season that you've been having, and it's like, okay, we take 1 loss, we tried to get it there. But we're talking about your season on the line here. Like, if you don't make this 4th and 8, you're eliminated, and you're not even going to throw the ball to at least the 1st down marker. Absolutely ridiculous.
And the thing on that, which, and Sean, this as well as we all know this, is Kirk Cousins has the arm to do it. If you need him to throw a deep ball, Kirk Cousins can throw a deep ball with anybody in the league. He can throw inside the numbers. He can throw outside the numbers. So it's not like he couldn't have made that throw. It's just that, what the hell? He didn't even go through progressions. He just went directly to his check down.
Yeah,
and expected the back to make up for the fact that he was literally standing in front of a linebacker.
It's good. The whole thing for this weekend is the teams that are just like, the teams that aren't very good or not very well coached, or they're all out, and the teams that are, still, the Jaguars will get killed this weekend. It's going to be the Chiefs. It's going to be probably, the Eagles and 49ers, maybe Dallas, whatever, maybe Tampa. You don't know, but it's going to be, it's going to be the Chiefs against either the Bills or the Bengals. I mean, it's the teams everybody expected, because these other teams are just either not coached or not. The Vikings weren't very good. The worst 13-win team in history. So
Such a fraud. Such a big fraud.
All right, so we got one real quick thing before we get out of here, and that is
I
tonight's
got
game.
I just want just quickly. I have to go tutor a couple kids.
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm
We'll
gonna-
see you tomorrow. Thanks, Amedeus, for dropping by and doing your usual, helping us understand soccer in a better way.
Yeah, definitely. But I'll see you guys later.
All right, bud. You be well.
Have a good one,
Bye,
Sean.
Luke. Yes, all right. So it's just you and me, kid. All right. So anyway, we can talk a little football here. We got a Buccaneers game tonight against the Dallas Cowboys. And the last time the Cowboys won a Super Bowl, I think George W. Bush was president. So it's been a minute. That was the team that Jerry Jones got mad and fired Jimmy Johnson and put Barry Switzer in charge, and Barry Switzer won what would have been Jimmy Johnson's third consecutive Super Bowl. But since that time, it's been a long, long, long drought. Plus, for what it's worth, and to be honest, I don't know what it's worth, Brady's never lost it to the Dallas Cowboys. So something's going to happen tonight at Raymond James Stadium at the corner of MLK Boulevard and Del Mabry Highway in Tampa. What it is, I am not sure. Well, my heart and mind wants to say never bet against Brady. Despite whatever season they had, everybody comes into this to 0-0.
Yeah, I've made that mistake before, betting against Tom in the playoffs, and you know what? Just don't do it. But yeah,
stay away from the game.
Yeah, I believe it was you who mentioned on another show how Jerry Jones said anybody can coach this team, and then that was the last time he ever saw the Super Bowl. So
that's the last time he decided he's going to ever mention that note before.
Big 20-year karma slap in the face for him. But
right.
But yeah, I mean, you also brought up that good stat of how the Cowboys are 1-5 on grass this year.
Yeah.
It slows the defense down. Their defense, who was one of the best in the first half of the season, I think they were top 3 defense. They've done nothing but decline these last few weeks. They blew the lead against Jacksonville just a few weeks ago. So,
if you look at while you're pondering there for a second, let me hit you with this stat. Since the halfway point, the Dallas Cowboys defense has given up 14 per first. All right, Jim, come on. You can speak English. All right, here we go again. Let me take a deep breath. Okay, project. Here it is. That is that since the mid-season break or game 8, the Dallas Cowboys defense has allowed an average of 12 more points per game than they did in the first half. So they're giving up more points. They're not scoring more points. I'm not ordaining the Dallas Cowboys as losing tonight. Just, they might as well not even show up. That's stupid. Of course, I'm not saying that. But I am saying that indications and indicators are pointing, in the Buccaneers' favor for tonight. Now that could all be gone by halftime, but I don't think it's gonna be.
I think it's important that you mention that because this Cowboys defense we know has already been giving up a lot more points in their last few games. Right. And you look at the Tampa Bay offense. They were 8-9 this year. They weren't really a good team, and their offense sucked. But again, you mentioned right before their last game of the season that they've started to figure things out. They practiced the 2-minute offense more. They realized maybe they just need to go a little more up tempo. We didn't really get to see that in the last game of the season because Tom Brady played, I think, about one quarter before they took him out of the game.
Right.
He got destroyed by the Falcons. But
they left him in. Just the rationale for leaving him in was he was able to break 2 records and get it done before the first half was over. So he wanted Byron Leftwich, who's the offensive coordinator, and Todd Bowles, who's the head coach, made it known to the general manager and all the ownership group that he was going to sit the starters, but he wanted Brady to get the record, and that when Brady got the record, he'd take him out.
Yeah, but my point was that they were practicing that 2-minute offense, obviously for the playoff game they knew they were going to be in, and not for that last game. So we really haven't seen what they've had 2 weeks now to practice. And if they're going to run a much more up-tempo offense here, this is a game where I trust Tom Brady in the playoffs to lead that offense all game and put up points. The big thing, though, is the defense. The defense has been great all year, especially at home. And I know from the Cardinals days, Todd Bowles is going to have that defense completely ready for this game tonight. So I think, I think between the defense and just Tom Brady and what they've been doing the last 2 weeks, I think they'll find a way to edge it out. But
it's going to be tough. Yeah, this is a game where it could go either way, and but it might well be, it might well be one of the more entertaining games. And the other thing, you mentioned Todd Bowles. We all know that Dak Prescott, he used to be able to run. He can't run anywhere near what he used to, which is, that's just age. We get that. He also has happy feet. And Todd Bowles loves to go zero blitz, right? That's basically everybody but cheerleaders. And he definitely loves to do that. And Dak hates to be rushed. Normally he makes mistakes when that happens. So honestly, I think Tampa Bay to win tonight is going to have to keep that up tempo, thing going. They're going to have to put extreme pressure on Dak Prescott, not because he's going to run away from you, but because he doesn't like to have, people in his face. And last but certainly not least, they're going to have to turn the ball over at least twice. I think that's the recipe for winning tonight against Dallas. Now, on the other side of the ball, Dallas needs to know that if they can get Zeke Elliott, I think if they can get Zeke Elliott 100 to 110 yards, then the Buccaneers may be in trouble, because running and burning that clock will help them.
Yeah, I don't even think Zeke is their best running back, though. I think Tony Pollard is really starting to emerge as the number one guy. I know he's been injured the last few games. I don't know if he's playing tonight, but honestly, yeah, if Tony Pollard's in there, it makes him a little more dangerous with that 1-2 punch, him and Zeke. But yeah, it'll be an interesting game, that's for sure.
It'll be fun. Whether or not, how it comes out, I don't know. But I will say this: tomorrow, with a little bit of luck, we'll have somebody who was in the press box there from Sports Talk Florida, either Michelle Sabin or Garrett. Garrett, who's been on the show before, Garrett will come in and give us a post-mortem on what happened at Raymond James tonight, and also I'll look forward to next week's playoff games that will start on Saturday and move all over into Sunday. But any final things that you want to talk about, my friend, or do we want to call class for today?
Just one more interesting fact before we go. So Napoli's now 10 points ahead in first place in the Serie A. And,
okay.
It's been 33 years since they last won the Serie A title. And the last time they won was in 1987 when Maradona was on the team. And that was the year after Maradona won the 1986 World Cup with Argentina. So now this year, Messi won the 2022 World Cup with Argentina. Mm-hmm. And Napoli is on pace to win the 2023 Serie A title in Maradona Stadium, because that's where they play.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So just an interesting fact. Going to break a 33-year drought exactly 1 year after. And yeah, Maradona was a big part of Napoli. They loved him. They named their stadium after him. So interesting things I find.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be fun to see how this plays out. And the good news is we'll be here to talk about it. And by the way, folks, in the not too distant future, Amedeus and I will be doing some tennis, and we hope that you'll join us, and also some golf. So things to look forward to.
Yes.
So anyway, all right. Well, for Sean, who had to leave early, and for Amedeus and I, who stayed but enjoyed a little bit of class here today, we hope that you enjoyed it, and we shall return tomorrow. And same bat time, same bat channel. So have a nice day, folks, and enjoy the game tonight. And we'll come back and try to make some sense of it tomorrow for you. Okay. So Amedeus, have a great day, and the rest of you have a great day. And we will be back with you tomorrow morning. Be well and take care.